A Scoobert a Doobert Unmasked. Honestly, at this point, I feel like a lot of you just consider me to be the Scooby guy, and to be honest, I don't blame you. I mean, look at the, gee, what have I been doing with my life? And after the Night of 100 Frights video, a lot of you asked me to review this game, which I actually found kind of shocking. I found it shocking because throughout my entire childhood, I have never met another soul who has ever played this game. And listen, I was ready to talk about this game, and I loved this game as a kid. I played it a ton. It's super memorable for me, just a lot of fun. So I booted up the game, and I was ready to have like a million things to say about the game, but then it just hit different. It wasn't the same. And listen, I know, a lot of you were raving about this game, and I was too, but maybe this is growing up. Maybe it's time to get a real job, start my career, pay my taxes, move out, you know, like the big kid stuff. Nah. Let's dissect this game here and see what makes this game tick-tock on the clock and if the party don't stop. Let's see if this Scooby-Doo game is how we remember it. So let's give some background info here. In the early 2000s, the scene for licensed game had never been more competitive. Nonetheless, Unmasked's most recent predecessors have been pretty successful, which means this Scooby game had to continue the trend. Instead of the amazing, critically acclaimed Heavy Iron Studios, Artificial Mind and Movement, now known as Behavior Interactive, developed this new Scooby game. You know, I wonder what Behavior is doing now. Well, let's take a look. Oh, well, they seem to be doing all right. This company actually worked on a previous Scooby game too, called Mystery Mayhem, which was something for another video. So they were already familiar with the source material, but this time making a 3D platformer instead of Luigi's Mansion over here. So in 2005, Scooby-Doo Unmasked was released, and wait, is that DS and GBA? Wait, this game came out on handhelds? Oh my god. Just so everyone knows, for this video, I'm going to be playing in the GameCube version of the game, and as far as I know, there are no differences to actually affect the casual experience, but I thought I'd mention this anyway. Okay, here we go. So, first things first, we gotta have a serious conversation here. We gotta talk about the art style of this game. An art style can make or break a whole game for you no matter what, and this game in particular is a hit or miss for some people. Now, most Scooby games just copy the artwork from one of the iterations of the show, and this game actually did copy off of a show, believe it or not. In their extras menu, they actually show that they copied off of What's New Scooby-Doo. And listen, I am no Scooby expert, connoisseur, or aficionado, but I don't see it. If anything, this game has sort of a hybrid art style to it, but they all, I guess, still look like who they're supposed to be. Now, when I first initially played this game as a kid, I actually didn't like the art style too much, but now I kind of like it. It has this really subtle, like, cell shading effect going on, and the backgrounds and environments have this matte painting or drawn aesthetic to it, like, you know, older cartoons do. And all the characters look fine, but crazy enough, the only character design I really don't like is Scooby. This is gonna sound weird, but I want Scooby to look stupid, not dumb. But stupid. He's a silly doge. This just looks uncanny to me. His face just has weird proportions to it, and it's too rounded, I guess. I don't know how to describe it very well, but to me, something is just off. But when you're playing the game, you're just staring at Scooby's double-wide surprise. And this looks normal. Not that I look at Scoob. Anyway. Weirdly enough, when Scooby is in his costumes, he actually looks sick as hell. Well, Also, while we're on the subject, I think this game has some of the best animations than any Scooby game before this. I don't really talk about this with my previous videos, but a lot of animation during this time can just be like, I don't know, stiff. But this feels so fluid and bouncy. There are a lot of cutscenes in this game compared to most, and every single one of them is animated perfectly. The graphics themselves are a little dated, but remember the year this came out? Like, come on. Either way, I get why people might not like the art style, but honestly, it's grown on me. And okay, now impressions this game gives. A lot to be desired here. Listen, I like graphic design as much as the next guy, but I'm gonna skim through this section, and you know, to be quite frank, the menus in this game are dog doo-doo trash. These menus feel so boring and lazy. Like they took two PNGs, a low opacity dog tag, and a swirling GIF, and they made a menu. It looks bland. But the worst part is that they constantly play this stupid song every time! The name and logo for this game is also very underwhelming. They just plopped some text, probably in Arial, under the Scooby logo. And calling this game Unmasked just feels sort of lazy because every Scooby game could be called this. Every Scooby thing unmask something. You should name your game something more unique because this game is actually unique. The first impression that this game gives is very poor, and I really think this is one of the main reasons why this game isn't more popular. I mean, literally less than half of you are statistically still watching this, so you think half the people who bought this game and saw this was like, So compared to other games, I was pretty disappointed in this game's first impressions, but you know what? Maybe this is like praying before you eat, you know? Come, Lord Jesus, be our guest. Let the Scooby be the best. Amen. You know, like maybe good things are soon to come. On that note, let's talk about the gameplay now. This game on the surface seems pretty simple. You gotta go to a hub world in 3 levels, where you find clues, move on to the next world, repeat the process, bada bing, bada boom. But while the formula for this game is simple, this actually puts the game in a very special situation. See, this game is going for the basic linear route and pretty much sticking to it, which, hey, that's great. I mean, Scooby games have had a history of sometimes not making up their mind of what they want to be, all right? I'm not afraid to admit that. That's a big boo-boo. Now, the formula laid out before us isn't bad on paper, but there are some problems that creep in from random decisions in this game's design. Getting started here, the tutorial is pretty great. It shows you everything you need to know about platforming in the game in a safe environment. And speaking of environments, mamma mia, the levels in this game look amazing. Look at all the details in the very first room alone. Look, they're even showing the costumes you unlock later and enemies being built. That's a really clever use of reusing assets and foreshadowing. Some levels stand out more than others, but we'll get to those later. Why are you in such a rush? Also, the environments and the layouts never make the levels feel the same, except when the level's actually the same. Hey, buddy, having fun there?
I want to play a game.
Okay. By the way, this game has a jump scare mechanic, which is really funny because it's so bad. Like, they play the sound right before anything happens. So, let's be honest, that's not really a jump scare. That's just like a jump, I guess. If they really wanted to scare you, they should have just done that. So this game has pretty basic platformer tropes like a double jump, a ground pound, a dash attack. These movements get the job done, but they're nothing to ultimately gloat about either. I think what really brings the movement down a peg in this game is its physics. This game is weirdly floaty, and while sometimes this helps, it's also deceiving in a way. It's like, I get you baited, and I think I land on the ground, but then it's weird to describe, but it's just hard to get used to height variations. And type platforming could be, okay. Okay. I don't like corrective things in platformers. What do I mean by this? Take a looky here, son. See, when Scooby goes up to this ledge, and all of a sudden he jumps back like this, like that, right there. What? See, I didn't do this. The game did this to me automatically. But what if I want to jump on something skinny? Nope. Well, all right, cool. Thanks for that, I guess. All right, what if I want to walk off this ledge? Oh, wait, there's an automatic ledge grab. I have to jump to actually get down? There are times where I'm about to jump off a ledge and then oops, no distance jumping for you. And yeah, I get that these are to compensate for things like a fixed camera or like, but whatever, dude. They've made better ledge grabbing in other games, and if the camera angles are the problem, then change the camera angles. I'm a bit of a hardcore gamer. I know, ladies, calm down. But I'm the kind of guy where I would rather have more flexibility in my movement and have the risk of me making more mistakes than creating things like this and just making an unflowing platforming experience. Man, we can't talk about a 2000s platformer without on the camera, huh? Like, you know, come on, that's like rule number 1. But to be fair, the camera in this game is okay for the most part. You can see what you're doing, and nothing really gets in the way. This game has 2.5 and 3D platforming, which was pretty common for the time, and I'm glad that this game doesn't rely too heavily on side-scrolling. Because come on, I bought a GameCube to see 3D shapes be 3D. There's usually one side-scrolling section in each level, but it never feels like they use it because of a lack of ideas or laziness. Except maybe Medieval. That level feels so lazy, it dwells in my basement. Also, remember when games had buttons to reset the camera? Admittedly, though, I feel like the game is playing tug of war with the camera sometimes. Like, there's times where the game doesn't want you to control the camera when there really isn't a reason for you not to. All right, basic remarks out of the way, let's talk about the progressive structure of this game. To specify, this game is separated into 3 worlds with 3 platforming levels, unlockable costume, and a boss fight at the end which allows you to move on. During the platforming levels, you can find food and trap pieces, which can give you more health, and unlock extras, which we'll talk about later. The most important thing you have to find in the levels are clues, which can be shown to Velma in the hub world to unlock further levels or other sections of the hub world. I just want to say that overall, I really like how this game is set up. I mean, I like a game that doesn't pave the road for you, but I also like a game that has a nice, clear way to go, and the enjoyment's more so like, you know, just riding the wave, bro. By the last world, you already know how many levels there are gonna be and when you're gonna fight the boss, but you still don't know what the levels will entail or what the boss fight's gonna be like. Predictability in video games, it's not always a bad thing. Anyway, the level's actual design for platforming does the job well. They're all different enough, and they do the good gamer stuff that I'd expect it to do. I think most of the complaints have to do with the aforementioned physics and Muber, but I'll explain that later. I do have to say that the auto-scroller sections in some of these levels are so... like, the sewer slide feels fine, but Water Park over here, it's like trying to walk after you got up too fast, and your head goes, woo! Should probably get that checked out. Like, turning is so janky, and if you're in the air, you better hope that the direction you're going in is the way you want to go. The flying scrollers are also just boring. They're just boring. I'd probably say my favorite levels are the sewers, the temple, the dino exhibit, and the aquarium. And I'm not really the biggest fan of Cookie Factory and the medieval exhibit. The others not mentioned are mid, which is... Wait, so that's the entire second world, I guess. Wow. Oh my god, I didn't even realize that. So while we're talking about levels anyway, I think it would be a good time to talk about this game's two main types of currency. Scooby Snacks and Muber. Scooby Snacks are simple. 100 total snacks gives you a health tag, and a box of snacks gives you a health tag as well. By the way, so when you get 100 snacks and you're at full health, it actually stacks. So even though it says you have 3, in reality you have but it stacks. So when you have 3, you actually have 4 because you have 100 snacks and full health. I just find this weird, and it's cool, I guess. I don't know. Muber is weird. Mom, Muber is weird. Mom.
Now you might be wondering, what is Muber? Muber is a fancy new currency special to this game, where it is literally an engineering miracle substance that apparently tastes really great, but can also be molded into other things, such as costumes and food. This Muber substance is only obtained through enemies, enemy machines, and boxes.
So let me tell you something here. Muber sucks. It just sucks. And hey, listen, I know you fans of the game are out there like, but listen, when you think about how Muber is applied in the game, you'll realize how stupid this currency is. But that's just mainly because the stuff that it's used for is stupid. First of all, I'm not paying 275 Muber for 1 carrot. Are you kidding me? Okay, what the hell, man? I mean, unless you really want 100% this game, there's food everywhere. It's not like the food you get from these Muber machines are any different. Listen, if I'm paying for this carrot, I want it to be gold and enchanted and give me regeneration 2 and fire resistance 1, okay? Do you know how annoying it is to farm Muber? Speedrunners of this game farm Muber by doing this. Boop, boop, boop. Oh man, I thought I was playing Scooby, not Super Mario. So the other reason you use Muber is to use the costumes. And I don't know, how do I say this without sounding stupid and not making sense? Costumes in this game aren't upgrades or power-ups. These costumes are more so meant to be different styles of playing a level at a certain time. It's almost like you're changing characters, really. There's only certain things you can do with each costume. And honestly, I'm fine with the costumes being like this to some extent. I think it would be cool to have a level where you go in between different costumes to get through a room and use your knowledge of each room to actually achieve the goal and continue moving forward. But guess what, guys? They didn't do it. They didn't do that. Instead, the game has a much more monochromatic approach to its costumes. Oh, big word. Let's take sewers for example here. This is when you unlock the first costume, the Kung Fu suit. So, you first enter the level, gotta get some Muber, break down a door. Okay, cool, whatever. Then I get into here, and then I lost the costume because of the cancer-giving UV lights, and then went down to the zip line. And right when you get off the zip line, you have to get the costume again. So you can break down another door, and okay, that's fine, I guess, but at least they made it easy for you to get Muber, and then you go into the next room and do some platforming. Oh, looks like I lose my costume again, and then let's just keep going, and I get it back again, so I could lose it again, and get it back again, and get it, lose it again, and... this point, why not just have me stay in the costume the whole time? The only reason why I even need this costume is to either activate stupid enemy wave sections or to open a door. I can platform pretty much the exact same way in this level with or without the costume. You know why you need to lose your costume, by the way? True Neutral Scooby here is the only Scooby that can climb monkey bars and use zip lines. Ninja Scooby can't use zip lines or monkey bars. A ninja. This really brings costumes down a notch for me because you're using them in such a weird way in your levels. And this is why I hate Muber. You know what? Screw it. I don't even like sewers anymore. I'm changing my mind mid-video. This isn't even a script. I didn't even think this would be possible, but the value of Muber is so stupid. What determines the actual value of things you unlock? Hell, by the end of the game, they either just give you the costume to wear automatically, or it's just free. Muber is just obnoxious BS to make a level longer for no reason. Costumes themselves could be fine if they weren't available to you in a stupid way and had more going on with them. The ninja costume is the best costume. You can do ninja kicks and shoot Hadouken blasts. That's awesome. I am mildly disappointed though that they really only use this costume for beat 'em up segments later in the game. You also have the gliding suit, which makes Scooby glide. Wow, go figure. And the Robin Hood costume where he just shoots plungers. Even though there's already a costume where he can shoot stuff from his hands, and it looks way cooler. These costumes are pretty lacking with their uses for them. The costumes can still be cool sometimes. Like, it's still cool to glide around a level as Scooby or, you know, snipe enemies from afar. Playing with the costumes is way more fun than without them, and I'm pretty sure that was the point. What sets them back is more so how they're used in the levels they're in. They have unique qualities, not you, but allow Scooby to do more with them than just one thing. But all around, the upgrades for all of the suits suck. With the Kung Fu suit, they literally replaced a super fast, cool dash kick thingy-doo Scooby-Doo had with a ground pound. That's something I can already do. Aren't upgrades supposed to add things, you know, not replace them? The glide suit just looks cooler. There's no difference to it at all when it's upgraded. And the Robin Hood suit basically just becomes the triple shot monkey from Balloons. He even shoots slower. These upgrades mean nothing. So honestly, I would collect them because they just make Scooby look cooler. Except the Kung Fu one. That one isn't worth it to me. By the way, here's a fun little thing here. You can only upgrade the suits in the hub world by collecting the golden token. But let's say, you know, you forgot to get it and you want to hunt the game. Well, what you can do is go back to the hub world and, you know, get the token. Shut the f up. You can't go back to the hub world. Why would you ever need to do that? That's right. You can go back to the van and replay the levels, but you can never go back to the hub worlds. It means if you want to go back and collect things you missed, I'm sorry, but you know, bro, you're just out of luck. Should have been more aware and, you know, gotten them when you could. The hub worlds are like the coolest part of the world. And not to mention this game does promote you going back to levels. So why would you not allow them to go back to the hub world? Like it's not that hard. Oh, hey, Fred, my man, my brother, my homie. Drove my Freddy to the levee, but the levee was dry. Hey, listen, you mind grabbing the keys and going back to Chinatown or something? I mean, hell, you know, I'll take the keys if you're busy, you know. What do you say?
If Velma's right, then Stanton will have a lot of explaining to do.
You are so dense. Boss fights. They're pretty cool. Dragon, easily my favorite boss fight. The pace of the fight can be dictated by you since you can deal multiple hits, and your confidence in hitting the boss allows you to not lose your costume. This is the losing your costume mechanic done really well, as you have to go back to the machine to get it, where you'll lose opportunities to hit the boss. The final boss is also really cool, as you have to use all three costumes to trying to, you know, like bob and weave out of the way of attacks and obstacles. Even the Robin Hood section is okay, since there are certain sections where you can't even shoot at the boss, and you can't just sit there with your bow fully charged and just wait. I don't get this game's fascination with its pterodactyls. Like, there's a whole level where that is basically the only enemy, and then they made an upgraded version of the enemy, and it's the final boss for some reason.
Sounds like he's in the miniature city set.
The mini movie set? Are you blind? The other bosses are okay too, like the caveman. This fight isn't entirely in your control since the items are RNG, but you can strategize what you can do with your items and use the caveman's AI to your advantage. But the fact that the caveman could sometimes randomly hurt you by hitting into him is so stupid. The guitar ghoul boss fight is just meh. You move around and hit spiders. Wow, that's so cool. The mirrors at least make the fight look cooler. And I think the boss has cool character design, but hitting spiders? Really? Like, I know y'all were gonna use the costumes for the boss fights, you know, why not use that trend? But either way, these bosses are unique, and most of them are actually a joy to play casually, and are often the most exciting part of the entire world. Normal enemies are okay to fight. There isn't any strategy to them, like, wow, that's objectively funny. But really all the enemies feel the same, but you know, it's more so cool just seeing different monsters and you know, stuff. Apparently when you collect the trap pieces, it shows their difficulty and speed, which is like, buddy, I saw no difference in most of these enemies besides maybe their health. Ninjas are kind of cool since they're pretty quick and fun to mess around with, I guess. But the 10,000 volt ghosts, easily my favorite enemy. They're super quick, have a ton of health, and can only be defeated with the Robin Hood costume, adding value to the costume and making sure, you know, you can't sit still and just have them charging at you. It offers more caution and awareness in the gameplay. But the last thing we got to talk about is the story of this game, and sure, a drum roll. Let's do a drum roll. This game's story is fine. It's actually not that bad. Now listen, Scooby-Doo plot lines aren't masterpieces, okay? I'm not expecting to watch a Hitchcock film when I see this group of people. The story connects with all three worlds very well, and I like how the saboteur of MFM actually helps the other people with their crimes while also putting the gang on a wild goose chase. I love the guitar ghoul plot twist, easily my favorite storyline in the whole game. And the caveman pumping oil plot is so funny to me. Like, how is the other staff this oblivious? It's not like he put the rigs there himself. Like, Chinatown's plot is kind of weird. Why is she a robot? What? Why is this a thing? I get it's a wild goose chase, but were all the villains meant to just be robots? Like, how long did this robot have to live in this town to not be sus? Anyway, the fact that even if the other people the saboteur had helped, you know, failed, she could still accomplish her mission. Now, I still don't like this weird trend in Scooby video games where the person who committed federal offenses is reconciled in the end, but you know, you only live once, am I right? But whatever, you know, if Adam West here thinks she's fine, then so do I. Rest in peace to a legend. I like how the clues actually do add to the story in retrospect, and again, I think the clues in this game are the best compared to any other Scooby game with clues. Also, when I was younger, this fish guy being Jed blew my freaking mind out of my skull dome. So Scooby-Doo Unmasked is probably my second favorite Scooby game. I'm sorry, frights will always have my heart. I think the biggest problems with this game is just the odd design choices and the fact that this game is so short. It has very little time to actually expound upon its ideas or unlockables. If you remember this game, well, chances are that you'll come back to it feeling like you're young again. I would still recommend giving this game another playthrough since, you know, I still had fun. I just see a lot of lost potential. If you love the Scooby-Doo franchise, you'll have a nice 8 hours with the game. It's short and it's sweet. With all that being said, I still think it's an underrated game, and while it hasn't aged the best, I think it's a shame that not more people talk about this game. Maybe one day I'll review the other game that this team made. No.